Liverpool have just wrapped up their third game in the Champions League with a 1-0 win over RB Leipzig. This was a pretty professional performance, in my opinion. The last 20 minutes when Leipzig started to have their last-ditch chances, you could just kind of see Liverpool were trying to maintain some energy, break when they could, and if there was an opportunity to try and get a second, they were looking to take it, but ultimately just trying to keep possession, save energy, because they've got the big game against Arsenal coming up this weekend. It was a game where I thought Liverpool created quite a number of chances. I think it felt a bit nervier than it necessarily was at times, just because Leipzig had a number of chances just end up being ruled out for offside, which can always play a bit of a trick with the mind when watching it, because you keep in your head they still were able to get through even though it was offside. But Galaxy for Leipzig just made a number of massive saves. I thought he was able to just nullify some big attempts. When you have the Núñez header, I thought it was an excellent save. VVD off the corner, that was an important one. They were almost back to back. And then maybe the best of the lot was the one in the second half against Gakpo, when the two Leipzig defenders kind of bobbles between them. It breaks to Gakpo, and kind of point blank, Galaxy's able to just make sure he's in front of Gakpo in that situation, because it would have been easy, given how it did just bobble between the two Leipzig players, for him to be out of position, because you would have expected one of them to be able to just clear it. And there's not much Gakpo can really do from that situation. He tries to just put to the other side, and from there, with how short a time he really had, that's about all he could do. There wasn't too much of a finish beyond that available for him, but I thought Galaxy did really well to just be in front of him for it. Some of the standout players on Liverpool's side, I thought Konate was massive in defense. He just seemed to nullify any attacks they had. I thought he was big, getting his head to the ball in a lot of situations and clearances. I also thought Gravenberch in midfield really grew into the game as a whole. Liverpool kind of did, but I thought once they were in full swing, you could see him just always providing an option, turning on the ball, 1-2s with the players. I thought him and McAllister, to be honest as well, were really good at finding those options. I thought Trent was really good defensively in this game. He struggled at times with his passing. It just seemed a bit disjointed. Not sure whether that might be injury related, because Slot has mentioned that he was struggling with a back injury, I believe. He pulled up a bit during the international break. He came off early in the weekend's game against Chelsea, and so maybe that's why it was a bit disjointed. There's every chance. Sometimes players just have a bit of a poor performance, and when you're trying to play kind of the more extravagant balls, as Trent does, they're not always going to pan out. You do wonder if Connor Bradley had been fit, whether he would have played this game and Trent would have taken it off in preparation for Arsenal. But Joe Gomez eventually came on and did really well, as he did with Chelsea, and so that was good to see. Who else do I think stood out in this game? I'd say I thought Núñez was bright, kind of following up, not quite to the same level as the Chelsea game, but I think Liverpool in general probably weren't as bright with it. I thought the goal he scored, obviously it's just a tap in, but it was great to see him being in the positions and aware of that. The header from Salah, I think, was going in anyway, but as a forward, Núñez needs to make sure that goes in. The last thing we needed was for that to potentially hit a post and then say it bounces on the line, keeper clears it, things like that. Just make sure it's in the back of the net, which is good, and the goal will give him some confidence as well. So that was great to see. I thought Liverpool were pretty tough in this game. You had the Núñez penalty shout denied by the ref. You can only assume that's just because the ball they would have adjudicated was going to run out anyway, but I feel like then you're saying, well, what if he's a meter further back in the box at that point? Is it then a penalty? I feel like when you start playing with those things, it's tough you're trying to predict too much as to what's happened. It was very clear that Núñez takes the ball around his player and gets fouled like that, and there was every chance he could get to that ball. I feel like it should have been a penalty. McAllister being booked for simulation when he very clearly got fouled was so ridiculous, especially so early in the game. To do that, I just thought was mental, and it was lucky that kind of didn't cost us. Like, it would have been very easy for another foul for McAllister to pick up a second yellow, but thankfully it didn't. And there were a few other calls that the umpire made that were just questionable, I thought, or the referee made that were just questionable. But ultimately, I think I've said it was just about getting the job done and playing it out from there. There wasn't anything too exciting to this game, I don't think. A lot of kind of just shots from distance a bit more than I think Liverpool normally take. The one I wish went in was the McAllister-Szoboszlai interlink. Initially, it started with Trent at right back winning the ball. Liverpool play like 20 passes to get it round, and then a lovely 1-2 from McAllister and Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai backheels it to McAllister, takes a touch, and just tries to whip it into the corner, hits the crossbar. If that had gone in, that would have been one of the goals of the season. That passage of play was outstanding. And there are a few moments like that. I thought Szoboszlai showed in some of those moments the real quality he does have. A ball he put through to Gakpo as well, when he had the whole crowd and pretty much everyone watching convinced he was going to play the ball to Salah, and then just darts in a short one behind the defense to Gakpo. I thought that was exceptional, and his ability to do that is why he's in the team. He obviously hasn't performed as well as we'd all hoped so far this season, but I think you can see why he's in there. He's still quite young. Like, I believe he's only 23 or 24. So to see him developing and growing, like, he's still a few years off his prime. And so I think he's got real potential to hit some form. And I think when it does click and when he just gets maybe a couple to go in, I think then he'll really be able to strive and progress from there. But I think, like I said, Xavi Simons for them, I thought was bright. Every time they had an opportunity, he was the one who would pop up, and I've heard he's been talked in such high regard as a prospect for years now, and so I think this was the first time I've really kind of watched him, so I thought he was actually really good for them. I mentioned how Galaxy stood up without him making as big of saves as he did. The game could have been really different, because you think, say that Nunes header goes in, we're then 2-0 at half time. How does that then play out? I think Liverpool could have just kicked on from there, because going into half time, Liverpool was constantly on top of the game. And even for the first period, the second half, I thought it was kind of that, probably from 25 minutes into about 75th minute, I think Liverpool were dominant in that passage of play. Just looked like they were providing all of the threat, and it was just kind of at the start Leipzig started stronger, and then at the end when they were pushing forward trying to get the equalizer, they were on it a bit more, but Liverpool also inviting them on a bit more, I thought. So ultimately I've said it was just professional job, get it done. They're now second in the standings of the Champions League table behind Aston Villa, so it's kind of mental that they're up there. It's reminiscent of the 80s, that league table, but we'll see where we go from there. It's all just attention now turned to Arsenal. That's the big one coming up. If Liverpool can get a win there, then they'll be in real good stead. And I've seen people claiming that if Arsenal lose, they'll be out the title race, or if Arsenal don't win, they'll be out the title race. It's way too early to say that, but I think it would do more about just building the confidence of Liverpool and just being able to kick on. I think as long as they can keep this momentum going, they'll be dangerous, and it's great to see. It's what you wanted. I think we got some rotation in. Salah was able to come off after 60 in this game, so he should be fresh for the next game. Diaz was the one who replaced him, so he'll have fresh legs for the Arsenal game as well. I'm imagining Nunes will probably have to start because I think Jota will still be injured, so he came off as well. Trent got some fresh legs, and so ultimately it was great to see. And yeah, I don't think there's too much to be added to this game. I would say it was as comfortable of a 1-0 win as you could get for the most part, barring a couple of Leipzig half chances. I don't think there was too much to it. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below as well, what you thought of it, how you think the different players performed, who you thought was the man of the match. If I had to give mine, I'm probably going to go Kanate. I thought he just, every time Liverpool needed him, he was the one who stood up for them. So I think that's who I'll go with. But let me know, as I said, in the comments below who you thought was man of the match. And be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like in the video, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos, and I'll catch you all in the next one.